right, welcome everybody. Really excited to be here today. I have a short presentation for you where I'm going to be talking about identity and Web3. I think it's a pretty interesting topic. I selected a short topic though, because I want you to understand just a couple of simple concepts and ideas about why this is so important. There's plenty of technical detail online to learn more. However, I think it's important that we understand why it's such an interesting space to be in right now. So let's get started and look at the slides that we have. And what I'm going to share with you very briefly is I'm actually going to first define Web3. And I feel this is a definition you might not have heard before. Then I'm going to give you a very simple customer example or use case example of how this changes identity. And then I'm going to finish up a little bit with the stuff that I'm working on personally right now. And my name's David Bressler. I have been in the integration space, if you will, for most of my career. I love the way technology solves business problems. And so that's the focus of today. How does this shift to Web3 help us solve kind of a new class of business problems, which of course means how does this help us create new opportunities? So with that said, we have Web3. What's Web3? Broadly speaking, this is an internet with blockchain somehow built in. I don't want to parse my words very carefully here. I just want to say that the milestone is, the shift is that the old Web 2, we're all familiar with, e-commerce sites, information sites, the web as it exists today. And then all of a sudden, blockchain came along, Bitcoin came along, Ethereum came along, and now we're using the phrase Web3. So we have something about distributed ledgers being on the internet, or I should say between us and the existing internet. And what does this mean? What does this do? So a lot of people will say, well, it's a slow database. You're going to build your application on a slow database. What's the point? I'm going to use a fast database. I can use Oracle or MongoDB or something else that we're familiar with. Why do I need blockchain? Or why do I need any of these cryptocurrency platforms like Ethereum? And I'm going to kind of go back and forth between blockchain, Ethereum, and whatnot. Don't take, if I have a specific meaning in mind of why I'm choosing something, I'll explain it. Otherwise, just assume I'm talking about the underlying cryptographic technology that makes up a blockchain network. So when anytime somebody says to me, blockchains are just slow distributed databases, why use them? My answer to them is, you're missing the point. It's not about the distributed ledger. It's about the cryptographic trust that's built in to the network. And you might often hear that Web3 is the internet of value. So before I can move information, now I can move money, so to speak. And you have, Bitcoin, and we could argue about whether Bitcoin is money. You have Lightning on top of that. That is the equivalent, for lack of a better word, we're not going into that right now, but it's the equivalent of like a Visa network or a MasterCard network or moving payments. You have Ethereum that's moving value and having all kinds of advanced programmable instruments. But the key point is, people talk about how Web3 is the internet of value. And it's not that I disagree. I agree, Web3 is the internet of value, but actually it's bigger than that. The people who define Web3 as the internet of value are stuck really in 5-year-old thinking, which is where we were. Web3 is the internet of trust. And that means that using cryptography, I can trust things that are happening online in ways that I could not with Web 2. And for example, totally random example, I'm beta testing a piece of software that uses my MetaMask wallet to sign into my Apple Mail client, and then using my private key encrypts my email so that somebody on the other end with my public key, I can have end-to-end encrypted email. I don't need any special email system. All I do is connect my wallet to my mail client, and I can have end-to-end encrypted email. So there's a trust built into that, and there's a lot of experimentation going on right now. End-to-end encrypted email has always been very complicated because of all the key management that has to go on. And I've heard one definition of crypto wallets being, wallet is really a bad word. It's more like a crypto keychain. A wallet is just a collection of crypto keys. And that's one good way to understand it. So the idea, again, is that Web3 is an internet of trust. And if I have trust, I can move value around that network. But the other thing that I can do is create identity and know who I'm dealing with. And those of you who are old enough might remember the cartoon that was, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog, and there's a dog sitting at a computer terminal, like interacting in a chat application with humans. So why internet identity? Why Web3 identity? What's going on here? We've all heard the conversations around, I don't want Facebook to own my identity. I don't want Google to own my identity. I don't want Amazon to own my identity. I want to own it. I don't want them to sell my data. That is a misspoken statement, by the way. I'm just sharing what people are saying. They don't sell your data. They aggregate your data and then sell access to it. And there's insights that they can get because they have so much data. But again, that's another tangent. But Ben is an analyst that I've been following for a long time. And Ben knows an awful lot about two things. He knows an awful lot about the semiconductor industry, and he knows an awful lot about teenage girls because he has 2 or 3, I'm not really sure. And he often studies younger behavior with technology through his kids. And that is what the source of this post was, at least in part. The idea that there are consumer-centric communities evolving around products, and we all identify with products we like. If I look around the room that I'm in, I have 2 or 3 leather bags from a company that I adore. I love their product. I think they're great. If anybody asks me about bags, I talk about this company. If I'm traveling, I often see people carrying similar bags and you kind of do a fist bump. It's kind of a little club. But if I go online, nobody knows that I have those bags. And maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't matter. But Ben is pointing out that there is a trend to go online and be an advocate for a community. Or if you're doing research, to participate in a community to understand what's really happening. So let me share something from Web 2. Many of us are probably familiar with Amazon. And I say many because I don't know where the whole audience lives and what Amazon does in every country. However, Amazon has something called verified purchasers. And so if I buy something on Amazon and then review it, my review is tagged as a verified purchase. And that has a value because you know that what I'm saying comes from someone who has bought the product. And by the way, I've written this use case up and I've given you a short URL at the very bottom. So if you're curious, head over to bit.ly/Amazon verified and you could read my whole story there. But the idea is, and this is very Web 2, Amazon owns the experience. If I'm that leather bag company that I mentioned and I sell on Amazon and David buys the product on Amazon, Amazon will verify me and say, David knows what he's talking about. He bought from this company. They may even say he bought this specific product. However, the challenge becomes, what if I want to join a Facebook community? That verified purchase doesn't go anywhere because Amazon owns that piece of my identity. And Ben's observation about the trend, right? Let's go back to that. There's not just a technology problem, but there is a trend of communicating as communities and advocating for products or services like carbon offsets or for airlines or whatever. You know who I am on Amazon, but you don't know who I am once I leave Amazon. And for the merchant, that could be a problem. The merchant would want me to promote their products on Facebook and would want people to know that David is a You know, he owns this product, and so something that he says is going to be maybe insightful. So what Web3 allows us to do is have the merchant, kind of call me a verified purchaser. And that identity sticks with me, the buyer or the purchaser. And wherever I go, I could go to Amazon, I can go to Instagram, I can go to TikTok, I can go to a Facebook group, I can go to Discord. You get the point. I can go anywhere, and that verified purchase comes with me and identifies me as someone who can be trusted on this particular topic. Now, just to be clear, you would need, if, let's pick Amazon, for example, Amazon would have to support me bringing my own verified status in there. But what that looks like looks like this, the bottom part of the slide over there. If I were to buy this, let's keep going with the leather bag. I buy this leather bag, and along with the product, they give me an NFT. That NFT is in my wallet. When I log into, let's pick on Facebook, I log into Facebook, I attach my, I log in with my wallet, I connect my wallet, and that wallet sees the NFT and can mark me as an owner of this bag. Using dynamic NFTs, if I buy multiple products, it would know that I've bought multiple products and these are the products. And so if I'm talking about one that I own, maybe my opinion matters more. And again, of course, it's not Facebook. Discord, you can do that today. I can log into Discord, I can connect a wallet, and I can participate in certain channels that are available only to NFT holders. Now, that may represent a purchase I've made, but it might also represent an investment I've made in a company, and this is the Discord for that company. And investors have access to the executives through a channel. And that's because my identity is now someone who buys leather bags and someone who invests in companies. And so I own both of those pieces of identity. I don't need the bank to verify me as the investor and Amazon to verify me as the purchaser. When I put this quote up here, it's one of my favorites from Pete over at Coinbase. NFTs are the file format of culture. And an NFT, I'm not going to go into what an NFT is right now because I want to keep this short. But if merchants and other places, I make a donation somewhere, they give me an NFT in return. I log into an e-commerce site, so I've made a donation to save the tigers. And I log into an e-commerce site that has an affinity for tigers, and they recognize that not only do I like tigers, but I'm actually working to save them in the wild. And maybe there are some special benefits to that. Again, this is part of my identity. It's part of the culture that I am a part of. And over on the right, I list a few things. I'm a parent of young kids. I'll leave you with this last example. At the beginning of every school year, I'm running all over to the doctors, trying to get forms signed to prove that my kids have had the right vaccinations. The doctors own that information. It's not associated with my kids. It would be really nice if my kids could just log into school with their wallet, and then the school knows that they've got the right vaccinations. And again, this comes back to the cryptographic trust layer built on top of Web3 2 that turns it into Web3. And the last example that I really like is I take a Java programming course. And now I want to apply for a job. Well, I log into the job site. It sees that I've successfully taken this course. It shows me jobs that has that as a prerequisite. No need to call the training company. No need to call my school. No need to trust LinkedIn, for example. I think LinkedIn is 50% lies and 50% spam or something. I'm not really sure, but not to knock LinkedIn, but I think it's a sign of the future. In any case, that to me is what Web3 really is. Web3 is a layer of trust built on top of Web2. And in that regard, the company that I'm with right now, BCware, is working to integrate Web2 with Web3 to abstract away blockchain complexity so that we can accelerate the enterprise adoption of these sorts of technologies in the organization. How does a company like my leather bag company, issue NFTs, and then tie that NFT back into Salesforce, for example, Salesforce Web 2, NFTs Web 3. What chain do they mint those NFTs on? I happen to use Ethereum. You might use Polygon. Somebody else uses Solana. There are reasons to use multiple chains. And if you notice, I'll point out, and now you won't be able to unsee it, even Starbucks, one of the biggest companies in the world, I don't know, maybe I'm making that up, a very big company, they launched their NFT loyalty program on Polygon. So what you're seeing is these companies are launching on specific chains. I believe that's a problem. We're back to a fragmented internet. We don't need a fragmented internet. I'm old enough to remember TCP/IP, IPX, XPX, DECnet, LAT, all these different protocols that you would do intercomputer communications with, and now it's TCP/IP. I don't believe we're going to have one blockchain. I do believe we have to take the blockchain complexity out of these solutions. And this picture here is a picture of our front end workflow. It's called BCware Studio. It's a workflow builder that builds these flows. And if you have good eyesight, you could see you connect a wallet. It doesn't matter what wallet. We abstract that away. It checks to see if there's an NFT in there. If it does, it can do certain things. Like if you've logged in with your wallet, I can then tell the e-commerce site something. I can knock it into the CRM so I can track who my big NFT users are. I can put it in a database for real-time analytics and dashboarding and stuff like that. And then I can pass back like an OAuth credential so that you can actually log into the e-commerce site and have the right roles and permissions and so on like that. And this is just a very simple flow. And this flow could then be distributed through a workflow engine anywhere in the world. It scales. It supports things like GDPR because of that control that you have anywhere in the world. And, we have used this to build the first real multi-chain NFT minting application for Shopify. And that's live on Shopify today. So this technology is just starting to take off. But again, an important part of this is identity and understanding who your customer is, who your employee is, and the fact that your customers and your employees will start to own their own identity. So with that, I'm going to finish up. And I want to thank you for your time. Here's a little bit of information to follow up. You've got my website, davidbressler.com. If you'd like to reach out and ask questions about this, get a copy of the presentation. I'm sure it's available from the conference too. bcware.io if you want to read more about what we're doing, maybe get access to some of the technology. As I said, we have an app on Shopify now, but the real key thing is this BCware platform that allows you to accelerate blockchain adoption in the enterprise by abstracting away blockchain complexity from your developers and building it in a low-code way that developers are familiar with. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a fantastic rest of the conference.